morning. I will call the September 1st, 2021 regular meeting and Housing Authority meeting to order. Supervisor Anderson is delayed just a few minutes in traffic, but he will be here for the entirety of our meeting when we get to our action items. So with that, I'm going to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Supervisor, before I call the roll, I would like to note for the record that we have one supervisor participating via teleconference. As such, all votes will be handled by a roll call vote. With that, Supervisor Lawson-Remer?
Here.
Supervisor Desmond?
Here.
Vice Chair Vargas?
Here.
Chair Fletcher?
Here.
And for the Housing Authority, Tenant Commissioner Bonds?
Here. Here.
And Tenant Commissioner Peñalosa?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, we'll now proceed with our proclamations. I will present the first proclamation honoring the Metropolitan Transit System and North County Transit District. Accepting the proclamations will be Sharon Cooney and Chris Orlando with NCTD. Kicking off our new Pronto fare delivery system. An incredible asset, really brings our transit to a world-class level with incredible features and so much new functionality that we know will serve our riders better. And we kicked off Free Ride Month. For the entire month of September, both of our systems will be free for folks that are utilizing the Pronto card. I have the great honor of also chairing the Metropolitan Transit System. I'm incredibly proud of our agency. It's a wonderful agency, tremendous on-time safety, moving people, doing it reliably, an incredible workforce. And so I wanted to just take a moment today to honor and recognize San Diego Metropolitan Transit System for the work, and then a special thank you to our partners at NCTD. Our new fare delivery system, Pronto, is purple. It is the merging of the colors of our two systems, but really designed to create a seamless transit opportunity in our fare collection system. And we're so excited to have with us from NCTD, Chris Orlando, to be here. So accepting this proclamation is Sharon Cooney, CEO of MTS, along with a few remarks from Chris Orlando. So turn it over to Sharon.
Well, thank you so much for this honor. We really appreciate all that the county has done to get the communication out to their staff, let them know about free rides for September and how to get their Pronto cards. We have amazing staff at MTS and NCTD, and we've spent the month of August really getting the word out about this. We've handed out well over 100,000 cards so far, and downloads on the app are increasing every day. So we're really pleased to see so many people participating in the new fare collection system. So thank you for the honor, and it's still not too late to get the card and to ride for free in September. So thanks.
Thanks very much, Sharon. I want to thank Chairman Fletcher and MTS for their support as we've implemented this new payment and fare system. The NCTD board, including Supervisor Desmond, for their support. The MTS and NCTD staffs for all of their hard work over the several years it took to implement this, and especially our frontline workers, our bus operators, our train crews, our customer service agents who will help our customers through this transition. Encourage everyone to get their Pronto card or download the app. It really is bringing our transit system in the region to a more modern system that brings tons of benefits to our riders. So, thank you.
And so with that, be it proclaimed by San Diego County Board of Supervisors, first day of September, the San Diego Metropolitan Transit System and NCTD, we should write that in. We hereby proclaim this to be free ride with Pronto Day through San Diego County, but important that that free ride day is every day in the month of September. So thank you to MTS and NCTD. Next on the agenda is non-agenda public communication, an opportunity for the public to address the board on matters within our jurisdiction but not on today's agenda. The only action we may take as a board is a referral to the Chief Administrative Officer. We will do 5 in person and 5 phone calls if we have them. I'll ask the clerk to call forward those speakers.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have 14 requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 4 in person, 10 by phone. We will begin with the in-person speakers. I will call all 4 of you. You may line up under the murals on the east side. When I call your name, please come forward. Summer Light, Russell Walsh, Timothy Balak, and Audra Morgan. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record. You may come forward in any order.
My name is Summer Light. Do I state it here?
Yes, please.
Is that part of the 2 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. My name is Summer Light. I'm representing the residents of the surrounding area of the San Marcos landfill. That would be San Elijo Hills, Carlsbad, Elfin Forest, all the hikers, dog walkers, horse riders who enjoy the view of this landfill. Years ago, this board unanimously agreed to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars to make the mountain of trash in the San Marcos landfill into a natural setting that would blend into natural surroundings. Pepper trees were planted, dirt brought in, vegetation planted. We treasure what you have done, and we thank you. Recently, the natural surrounding bufferland of the San Marcos landfill is being covered with excessive asphalt. September 2020, homeowners, hikers are seeing large, beautiful eucalyptus and pepper trees cut down. 3 months ago, hikers, homeowners saw black asphalt poured unevenly in large circular areas, black asphalt spilling over down slopes, asphalt spilling into waterways, a rock formation destroyed, bright orange sandbags laying down near the black asphalt. This is lowering property values. Landfill management has informed us they plan to continue laying down more asphalt. They claim they need asphalt roads for their heavy equipment. Past management managed 20 years efficiently without new roads or heavy asphalt. The future plans of this landfill are designated in county records for open space. The outcome we would like to see is for this board to put a stop to the road building, the asphalt dumping, and restore the natural habitat recently damaged. We have volunteers in the community who will remove the asphalt plant and restore if funds are not available to do so. Thank you.
Next speaker, please. Oh.
Yes, please.
Quick on that, and we can't act on this item at all because it's an open, or it's not agendized today, but if I could ask staff to maybe work with them to maybe put some landscaping and maybe do some things that might enhance the view or something like that from there, just ask staff to work with Summer.
We are happy to work with Ms. Light and the neighbors.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for your time and attention this morning. This mural here reminds us that recreation is foundational to a quality of life here in our county and is high on the list of county leadership values. One would think that during this period of suffering, uncertainty, discord, and restrictions from many angles, that public trust would be paramount. That access to legally protected healing recreation would be a priority. Instead, the public, in the case I'm about to present, is being confronted with a sad example of clout versus justice. The citizens of our county have rights at Loveland Reservoir to access of 3.6 to 5 miles of shoreline from sunrise to sunset for hiking, fishing, and bird watching. The Sweetwater Authority has played bait and switch on these public benefits for decades. In the last few years, the board has forced, this is the Sweetwater Authority Board, has forced huge discrepancies upon citizens by closing the lake excessively during COVID, permanently shortening daily access hours and removing most of the public's recreational pool at this lake. Without consent of the public to whom these obligations are owed, this is with complete indifference to democratic process and due process of law. Confident is the Sweetwater Authority that nobody will expect of them to provide this due process of law. The lake is now in dismal conditions compared to what is owed. The Sweetwater Authority chairman has telegraphed further destruction in recent news coverage. I would like all of you to understand this is not simply a District 2 issue. I meet the constituents of each of your districts at the lake. Families, retirees, veterans, as am I, and a lot of people who, due to being less fortunate, depend on this lake to experience their lives as full or fuller. In all my advocacy, with all the excuses I've been given, no one has ever gone out to the lake to see this injustice through these citizens' perspectives or talk to the people who don't go anymore because the lake is trashed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please. If you can say your name into the microphone, thank you.
Timothy Bylash. Good morning. I thank the board for this open public hearing and the opportunity to address you. I'm a physician living in San Diego County, and I'm impressed with the improved performance of the board this term. And I thank you for stepping up for the severe problems that the county is facing. I want to raise the issue of the impact of housing valuation on the quality of life here in San Diego County. We don't always think about that. I saw a report last week that the housing valuations may have increased something like 50% in the last 8 years, which makes the class of people who have home ownership very happy because their taxes are fixed. But the group of people that have to work here or are moving in cannot afford any housing. And so the affordability of housing conflicts with the desire to have increased valuations. So I wanted to raise that issue. I thank you for your continued efforts.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Audra Morgan. So after what happened last night, it's a little bit sad because you were saying, Nathan, that you're doing what you think is best, and there were 1,500 people in opposition to that agenda item that shouldn't have been voted on because it was after the time. And so if you can break your own rules when we're doing things, I mean, what kind of precedence does that set? If you want us to like follow things or listen to you, I mean, it just doesn't look good to do things that are actually against your own rules, but do it anyway. And I mean, you had all these people telling you that they didn't want that to go through, and you're supposed to listen to the voice of the people. That's actually your job. And you won't even look at me. It's crazy. I mean, you made threw a temper tantrum and left when I brought it up. And it's like, I mean, we're coming to you because our civil rights are being trampled on. And that's a problem. And so, I mean, I don't know if you know about 18 U.S. Code 241, 18 U.S. Code 242, which are conspiracy against rights, deprivation of rights under the color of law, 42 U.S. Code 1983, civil action for deprivation of rights, 42 U.S. Code 1985, conspiracy to interfere with civil rights, 42 U.S. Code 1986, action for neglect to prevent, which would be the officers who should be doing something. So, I mean, it's just sad that we can come in here and hundreds of people can show up and you still do just what you want. I mean, those are your words. I'm doing what I feel is best, but if that's not what the people want, how can you do that? I mean, it should be the people that you listen to, and there's going to be more people coming every time.
Thank you.
So will you listen to them finally when that happens?
Thank you. Your time's expired. Next, we'll move. Oh,
Callers.
callers. All right.
We'll now hear from those who requested to speak by phone. We'll be identifying 5 callers. The remaining callers will be heard at the end of the meeting. We'll be identifying callers by the last 4 digits of their phone number. You'll hear a notification that your call has been unmuted. You will then need to press *6 to unmute your phone. Each caller will be asked to state their name for the audio record. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. Ryan, if you could please identify our first caller.
Thank you. Our first caller is 4592. Please press *6 to unmute.
Good morning, Board. Kathleen Lippett here. I'd like to take this opportunity to read a Wall Street Journal article by Eric Voss, MD, specialist in internal medicine, pain, and addiction management. He's an internationally recognized authority on drug use and drug policy, and a fellow of the American College of Emergency Physicians. He was responding to Paul Armentano of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws about decriminalizing marijuana, not addressing the problem. The letter supporting marijuana legalization completely ignored the clear medical evidence of the harms and medical consequences of increasing access to weed suffered through the nation. The medical evidence of increased psychiatric difficulties, including violence, psychosis, schizophrenia, manic episodes, worsening depression and suicide, traffic fatalities increased with marijuana law liberalization, and now there's clear evidence for increased opiate overdoses linked to enhanced marijuana availability. Other medical consequences include uncontrolled vomiting episodes, cardiac complications are being recognized. Marijuana as it becomes more potent than the ditchweed of the 40 to 50 years ago, this carnage underpins a huge, well-organized marijuana industry that seeks to profit on the suffering of the public, exactly as we saw with the tobacco industry. He hopes that the federal efforts to legalize marijuana will wake people up to the serious consequences of marijuana use, and states will start rolling back, or at minimum, tightening marijuana laws. I would hope that this county would do so as well. Thank you. Marijuana does not deserve a pass, and tobacco being held accountable, but marijuana not, that really makes no sense. Thank you for letting me speak.
Our next caller is 3800. Please press *6 to unmute your phone.
Hello, good morning. My name is Barbara Gordon. I am a high school youth advisor, and I'm here today to express my concerns as the board looks to allow more marijuana businesses, which I feel could have long-lasting consequences to public health and safety for our young people. Marijuana is often the first drug our youth try, but often not the last. Marijuana is not like alcohol. The body eliminates alcohol within 24 hours. Marijuana stays in the brain and body for up to a month. Marijuana products contain enormous amount of THC that rewires our adolescent developing brain and potentially leads to years of further problems. Protecting our young adults from the consequences of marijuana addiction needs to be paramount. Leading medical groups have agreed that legalization has led to an increase in teen use. We know from our own California Healthy Kids survey that marijuana use among high school seniors has continued to increase each year. Marijuana is known to lower IQ and disrupt memory and attention. Marijuana is known to cause psychosis, increase of schizophrenia. All young adults are vulnerable to the harms of marijuana. It is your responsibility and duty as the Board of Supervisors to protect our community and not expose our children, adolescents, and young adults to an addictive drug by making it commercially available. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Our next caller is 2965. Please press *6 to unmute your phone. Please press *6 to unmute your phone.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. This is KB Strange. I'm a pharmacist, longtime resident of San Diego County. I wanted to share with you this morning the upcoming conference that will be held on Thursday, September 9 at 10 a.m. at Sharp Reese Steely, where physicians and pharmacists will be discussing drug interactions between marijuana products and prescription drugs. This is very important because there are some medications that should never be taken with marijuana products, others that should be taken with extreme caution, and there are, I'm sure, lots of interactions yet to be discovered. In addition to THC and CBD, marijuana products can typically contain adulterants that increase the possibility of drug interactions as well as unintended side effects. All of this is further complicated because the fact that none of these marijuana products have assured purity and concentration, and dosage just becomes a guess. Inhaling marijuana products through vaping and smoking is the quickest and easiest way to use marijuana, and it's very difficult to gauge the dose when vaping and smoking. Vaping and smoking is the drug delivery system of choice among teens and adults, especially with fun, fruity flavors available. All of this makes dosing a real problem. So as a pharmacist, I have to ask, why now do you want more marijuana, vaping, and smoking products sold in the unincorporated areas of the county when there are far too many questions and far too fewer answers? Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Our next caller is 7159. 7159. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Mark Wilcox. Thank you for this opportunity to share my watchdog concerns regarding the county's money and the county's transparency regarding how it is spent. In a recent Reader magazine article entitled Up in Smoke, it indicated that the Board of Supervisors are looking for at least one consultant, perhaps more, to assist with the next steps in the implementation of marijuana ordinances that haven't even been written yet, or so we hear from the county staff as they seek input from the planning groups and residents of unincorporated county. So the search to contract with a consultant seems unwantedly in process. As the Reader describes, the consultant or consultants would be expected to perform as the supervisor's pro-pot coach, responsible for Board of Supervisors preparation meetings, dry run presentation, rehearsal presentation, dress rehearsal presentation, and hearing. The public wonders what the budget amount for this consultant is and when this budget item would be coming up before the board for public preview. And the public wonders if this is a setup to hire Dallin Young, about whom a PBS media piece in April reported that Fletcher said was one of the consultants who helped draft the Board of Supervisors policies. Dallin Young, a local cannabis advocate and lobbyist. Young and Fletcher go back a ways. Young was the field director for Fletcher's mayoral run in 2013. Young is now vice chair of San Diego's Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. Considering how divisive and unpopular this marijuana ordinance already is, these financial announcements in the Reader magazine appear quite problematic. I hope you'll review. Thanks.
Our next caller is 7277. 7277. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Good morning. My name is Diane Grace. I'm a mother and grandmother and reside in District 2. I came here today to share what experts say about the harms to youth when marijuana becomes readily accessible. Policymakers, quote, must look to prior experience from tobacco control efforts when legalizing marijuana, end of quote. Linda Ricker and Lindsay Vuolo suggest in recent commentary in the Journal of Adolescent Health. Both are public health experts from the Partnerships to End Addiction. Quote, tobacco has shown us that unfettered access to an addictive substance that appeals to young people will end up causing harm, end of quotes. They add that restricting youth exposure and access, quote, must be deliberate and essential element of any marijuana law, end of quote, as is the case with tobacco policies and regulations. As some of the board push marijuana businesses into the unincorporated areas of the county, I ask you, in the interest of health and well-being of young people, to consider their suggestions. Quote, ban the marketing of marijuana products that target young people, including colorful packaging, child-oriented product names, enticing flavors, and edibles that resemble candy, soda, and other treats commonly consumed by children, and, quote, prohibit the advertising, promotion, and sale of marijuana near any and all locations frequently frequented by young people and on entertainment, and exclude publicizing marijuana products in all print and social media outlets that can be seen by youth. If public health and the well-being of children really are your priorities, follow the advice of the experts as you have.
Thank you. That concludes the non-agenda public communication this morning. As the chair indicated, pursuant to the rules of procedure, the remaining callers will be heard at the conclusion of the board's discussion items this morning.
Thank you. Next, we will move forward with item 1 on the Housing Authority agenda, expanding affordable housing opportunities through project-based vouchers. This is an action brought forward by members Tara Lawson-Remer and members Vargas. Let me first go to them and ask if they have any introductory comments that they would like to make about this item, and then we will move ahead. So either of members Lawson-Remer or member Vargas.
Supervisor Vargas, would you like to kick us off, or I can?
Go ahead, Supervisor.
Okay. Thank you very much. You know, we spent quite a bit of time talking yesterday about the housing crisis that we face here in San Diego County. And this is another action that seeks to address that challenge and that crisis. As I discussed at length yesterday, we're going to need quite a number of tools in the toolbox to tackle this challenge, because for far too long, we have not taken that leadership and shown that leadership. And we do have some tools in our toolbox that I think have been long underutilized, and that is these project-based vouchers that by moving forward with this item today, we are going to be able to at least begin to invest more readily at the upstream production of affordable housing units, as opposed to just waiting for the market to produce them and then trying to insert ourselves in the back end, which we know is never as productive as showing leadership on the front end. So with that, I'd just like to urge my colleagues to support this action today.
Thank you. Vice Chair Vargas.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Lawson-Remer. I'm really happy to be partnering with you on this board letter. And I think that, as we emphasized yesterday during our board meeting, the housing crisis in San Diego is growing, and more families are being displaced and facing homelessness. The county has a responsibility to expand more affordable home options, protect families and people in them, and produce more housing at all income levels to address this issue of affordability. Something we can start doing as the San Diego Housing Authority is to look at our housing choice vouchers, and the action for today item is really going to direct staff to develop a plan, as she mentioned, to expand the use of project-based housing choice vouchers to support affordable housing development and preservation projects. As part of my Families and Communities First agenda, it is important to look at PBs because, unlike traditional tenant-based vouchers, they establish inclusive development by creating affordable housing units in low-poverty, resource-rich areas. The county's use of PBVs can increase the supply of deed-restricted affordable housing and support tenants. And my Families and Communities First agenda includes multi-strategy approach to both preserve and produce new housing. The implementation of this plan that will be created soon will expand our use of PBVs, which will lead to the creation of housing stability for residents, increased access to housing, and access to the supportive services that affordable and supportive housing provide. I respectfully request my colleagues to support this action today, and with that, I will second the motion. Did she make a motion?
I don't believe she did.
Okay, I'll make the motion, and then maybe Supervisor Lawson.
All right.
Happy to second it.
All right.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Commissioner Vargas, seconded by Commissioner Lawson-Remer. With that, let's go to our public speakers on this item, and then we will come back to Housing Authority Commissioners for any comments.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have 3 requests to speak on this item, 1 in person, 2 by phone. For those individuals that requested to speak by phone on this item, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. Begin with the in-person speaker. I'd like to invite forward Audra Morgan. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board.
Audra Morgan. So as far as like making it affordable, why does it take so long when people are getting these vouchers? Number one, it seems like you're kind of backlogged almost with that. And it seems like it's putting more people in the hands of the government with it, but how is it for people that don't qualify in those groups? What will happen for the people in between? and who fall in those, like in between the two groups of that, like, and if there's so many people leaving, a big part of that is they're losing their jobs right now. They're not able to, people don't want to stay in California, and a lot of people don't want to be under the hands of the government. Is it that to qualify, there's too many hoops that they have to jump through? I mean, is that part of it? Are you going to, you know, be able to keep up with the amount of people leaving if it's taking so long for these people to get these vouchers? Yeah, I guess those are just some questions.
We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. The first caller is last four digits 0408. 0408. Please press *6 to unmute your line. We'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record.
Good morning, supervisors. This is Madison Coleman with Climate Action Campaign. First, thank you to you all and staff for being here this morning after the long day that you all had yesterday. It's truly appreciated. The San Diego region has only produced enough very low income housing to meet 10% of its need. The county should use project-based vouchers to create inclusive communities and develop income-restricted, affordable housing opportunities in low-poverty, resource-rich neighborhoods to create dedicated housing for low-income communities of color and communities of concern. We also urge the county to increase the usage of PBVs that support affordable mixed-use housing development and preservation projects across the county. We recommend the county to prioritize awarding PBVs to sustainable housing projects located in low VMT areas. And finally, the county should evaluate national best practices to assess greater efficiency and accessibility strategies for residents to apply for PBV units and collaborate with other regional public housing authorities to simplify and streamline various PBV and tenant-based voucher waitlist systems. Thank you as always. Have a good day.
Thank you. Our next caller is 8688. 8688. Please press *6 to unmute your line.
Hello, this is Catherine Rhodes. And what I'm asking you to do is to use some of the $80 million you're getting for homeless and put it into additional project-based vouchers to actually create emergency homeless shelters where they're already allowed ministerially by right in 2,654 acres in San Diego, unincorporated San Diego County, in industrial zones M50, M52, M54, M58, and inside of a lot of the villages, including all of basically Ramona. And so what I'm asking you to do is maybe create 500 more project-based vouchers and use this program to actually create emergency shelters or low-income housing. Low-income housing that can be, you know, that could cost somebody $300 a month for rent. That way, a person on disability or Social Security can actually afford to live somewhere. And the way you can do this is to when on July 14th, when you did the housing element update to the general plan, Supervisor Joel Anderson tasked staff to put more housing types that are easy to construct and more affordable. And he said that it should include movable tiny houses, 3D printed homes, and prefab housing types. In order to get any of those housing types to be used, you actually have to, again, adopt Appendix O of the 2019 California Building Code. It's a voluntary adoption, and if you adopt that, you can actually have limited standards so that you can actually have these tiny homes communities. And if you had all these new project-based vouchers, you actually could create all these different places. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that concludes public comment on this item, Chair Fletcher.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our speakers. We've got a motion from Commissioner Vargas, a second by Commissioner Lawson-Remer. Let me go to our colleagues, Commissioner Desmond.
Thank you very much. I just have a question for, maybe it's in here and I missed it, but how long does the project-based voucher stay with the project? Is it 99 years? What's the term, I guess, on that?
Good morning, Supervisor. So the project-based voucher is assigned to the property, and it's part of the financing package, and it's continues with that property on a 20-year basis, and then it's renewed after that.
So 20 years, and then does it have to be renewed, or what's the renewal process? Is that just a rubber stamp, or what is that?
It is typically renewed as long as the property is being used for its purpose, and it's maintained according to HUD regulations, and then it's
and that unit or whatever it is, that unit or number of units have to be used for that purpose while it's being occupied, I guess.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So it's every 20 years it has to get renewed. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Look, we need more Section 8. We need more low-income housing. I'm going to support this today. But we're narrowly focusing on resource-rich, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. That would be the optimum location. But if we don't get it done, I want to come back next year and reevaluate this, because at the end of the day, we've got to produce these homes. We got to produce these places for people to live in. And if we go along this path and it doesn't produce, it's all lip service, it does no good for people in my district. And I don't think it does anything good for anyone's district. So I think that we really have to try new, innovative things. This is one of them. But if they don't work, we got to change paths and get on a path that delivers on our promises. But for years, we've been promising with RENA numbers that we're going to build stuff that have never been built. And pulling permits is not enough. They actually have to build the product. And I'm not measuring in permits. I'm measuring in product, because that's what affects people's lives. So I want to thank my colleagues for bringing this forward, but I also am going to encourage them a year from now to go back, evaluate this, and see if we made progress. If we haven't, I'm done with lip service. I want to move. I want to build, and I want to get people into homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other housing commissioners have any comments or thoughts on this item? All right, not seeing any. We have a motion from Commissioner Vargas, seconded by Commissioner Lawson-Remer. Let me ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you. Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Commissioner Desmond.
Aye.
Vice Commissioner Vargas.
Aye.
Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
Lieutenant Commissioner Bonds.
Aye.
Lieutenant Commissioner Peñalosa.
Aye.
That motion passes with all commissioners being present and voting aye.
Next on our Housing Authority agenda is the approval of the minutes and statement of proceedings from our June 30th, 2021 meeting. I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. We have a motion by myself, seconded by Commissioner Anderson, to approve. Ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you. Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Lawson-Remer. Commissioner Lawson-Remer.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Desmond.
Aye.
Vice Commissioner Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
Lieutenant Commissioner Bonds.
Aye.
Lieutenant Commissioner Peñalosa.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously with all commissioners being present and voting aye.
Thank you. I want to thank Commissioner Bonds and Commissioner Peñalosa for joining us for today's meeting. We appreciate all of your work. And with that, we will move into our Board of Supervisors meeting. On our agenda for the Board of Supervisors, first is the approval of the board meeting minute statement of proceedings for our meeting on Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. I have a motion by myself, second by Supervisor Anderson. Ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond.
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
The motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
We'll now proceed with the formation of the consent agenda. Let me start with the clerk and ask if there's any items the public wishes to be pulled for discussion.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. All items have been pulled by the public with the exception of item 2. So your consent calendar would include item 2.
All right, we'll go to my colleague, Supervisor Anderson. Are there any items you wish to be pulled for discussion?
I'm really tempted to pull 2, but I'm not going to.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer?
No, thank you.
Supervisor Desmond.
Well, I'm going to speak to two. So just real briefly of the comments. So this is the naming of the bridge in Valley Center in memory of the local librarian, Sandy Puccio. Valley Center Planning Group has requested the bridge in Valley Center be named in her honor. She was an adored figure in the community, and I'm pleased to fulfill the request with my colleagues of the community in naming of the bridge on Lake Wolford Road in Valley Center after Sandy Puccio. So with that, I'll move item 2.
Second.
Thank you.
Well, if I can do that.
It's moving consent.
Moving
I
the
can move
consent
the
calendar.
consent and
Moving the consent.
Yeah, moving
calendar,
consent.
which is only item 2.
Which then I was right in the first place. Okay,
Exactly.
good.
You had it right. Motion by Supervisor Desmond, second by Supervisor Anderson. Vice Chair Vargas. No, we're not voting. Do you have any item? You don't want to pull the only item on consent? All right. All right. So there's a motion by Supervisor Desmond, seconded by Supervisor Anderson, to approve the consent calendar, which is item 2, and the remaining items we will take up after this. Ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Supervisor Anderson. Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond.
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher.
Sorry.
Fletcher, aye.
The motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
If there's no objections from any of my colleagues, we will take items 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We will take up concurrently. We will afford our public speaker the full 2 minutes for each of these items, and we'll just do these in one batch. So with that, I'll make a motion to concurrently approve land use agenda items 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Is there a second? All right, we have a motion by myself, seconded by Vice Chair Vargas. With that, I'll ask the clerk to call forward the public speaker on these items.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. We have one request to speak on all of those items. I'd like to invite forward Audra Morgan. Since you pulled 5 items, you'll have 10 minutes to address the board.
Audra Morgan. So with number 1, the previously approved project has been abandoned, and it's no longer needed. So it seems like a lot of projects that you guys get into, they have to be abandoned or they can't be completed. And so that's, I mean, it just seems like a lot of wasted time and money. So the number 3, this, excuse me, the community sponsor group, so you want a high level of citizen participation in the planning process. Who decides who gets to be in those groups? Like, do you put something out and say, hey, we're looking for citizens to help us decide these things? And then do you put in people who you want that are always agreeing with what you want to do? Or do you have kind of people from both sides that can give you different points of view? Or is it just one point of view that you guys want? And who is getting the $10,000 in staff time for that? Is it the people that are in the committee, the committee, or is it you guys that's getting that? And what kind of supplies do you need for that? I don't know. And then this construction contract, so I mean, on the projects we were talking about yesterday, you had like a 90% shortfall in a lot of those projects. And it just seems like a lot of money is spent to, start them, and then they're not completed, then you got to add more money to complete them. So, I mean, what are you doing to is it the people that are doing the construction of them that are falling short? Is it you guys that is? I mean, who's the one making the process delayed? I mean, because you spend a lot of money on this and then things don't get completed, and it just seems like a really big, waste of people's money. And maybe you need to look into people that are, different bids for these construction projects. Maybe you're not finding the best people to do them. I mean, is it COVID that's slowing that down? Is that like an excuse too? I don't know. I mean, why are you having, 90% shortfall is that's not good. I mean, it's not good to continue down that path and be like, well, let's just spend some more money on these projects to complete them if you're not. I mean, and just with the amount of people leaving and you can't even keep up with that, I mean, there's a problem there. It's like you're not really fixing any kind of issue. You're just creating more issues when you do that. And then, all right, so for number 5, are you putting out bids for these engineers? Like, who, you know, are you like getting more than just, you know, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I'm too tired from last night. I got a nap, a 30-minute nap. It was great. But so are you taking the bids to find like the best people to do these jobs, or are you just kind of like selecting people who come to you? I mean, it seems like there's not really any due diligence in these when the projects always fall short, especially when there's a housing crisis and people are, you know, in dire need of homes. And, you know, it's just like delaying the process. If you're like, hey, this place will be done in like 5 years, I mean, what's gonna stop them? Like, how are they gonna get help now? And if the process for these vouchers takes so long, like what's gonna, I mean, there's just still, you know, people left behind and they're not able to, you know, find housing. So is it that you need to bring them into these projects and maybe have them help build like communities of their own where they can have, you know, a job, and you're giving them more than just maybe a voucher? I mean, how are we fixing the problem where their income can't compensate for the housing that they are being required to obtain or have to? And then as far as the traffic and stuff, are we also concentrating on the roads and like the problems with the roads as opposed to just, you know, changing the speed limit signs and stuff like that? I mean, I know there's a lot of streets that actually aren't in good quality. So, I mean, what are we doing about that as well? And, I mean, the fact that people even need these vouchers for homes, I mean, I think with the crisis that's going on right now with people having to be fired if they don't get the vaccine, it's putting a lot of families in a position to either have to leave or be homeless. So, I mean, that's also something that you could address, is why people don't have the money, why they're getting fired or having to quit their job. I think that's, you know, something that needs to be addressed, but again, you don't like misinformation, so I don't know if you think that people aren't losing their jobs from getting vaccines, or, I mean, not taking them. I mean, nobody should be put in a position to be fired if they don't take an experimental agent. That's a problem. I mean, and that's happening here. If people don't get the jab, they're gonna be fired. So, I mean, are people just gonna have to be reliant on the government and get unemployment and then need this housing? It's like we're just creating problems so that then all of a sudden the government is more in control of their lives. And that's not good. I mean, who wants to be like at the feet of the government? Nobody does, especially these days with what's going on. I mean, you can't even come and address issues with the people that are supposed to protect you. It's actually really sad. I'm just going to take the rest of my 4 minutes and talk about that. Because, I mean, yesterday we all came in and there were so many people here, and they're, you know, people have, you know, like worried about their children going to school, and they can't even, you know, like take care of the problem. I just feel like you guys create all these problems and you don't want to address the real issues. And that's what's really sad. It's like you can have 1,000 people tell you they don't like something. You can have 500 of them in your face telling you that they don't like it, and it doesn't really matter because you do your own bidding or the bidding of the people that are telling you what to do. And it's just, it's like extremely sad because, you know, at what point, I mean, it's like, do we have to remove you to get you to listen? I mean, like, nobody wants to have to do that, but you're kind of forcing our hand if you won't do what the people are asking, not what you want. And you don't want to listen to any of the things that people say. You just want to, it's like you come in and you know that you're not going to vote on a certain thing. I mean, even that Kakamba thing, that was so devastating that all these people could come and tell you, we don't want these solar panels in our community. It's going to take away from the land. It's going to destroy the minerals. We're not going to even have, they're just going to look at those things and listen to, like, who wants to do that? And they're telling you, please don't, and then you throw money at them. And that $4 million isn't going to do anything for those people. I mean, they can't afford to leave, so what's going to happen there? You're like putting them in a position to just live with what you're putting on their land. So, I mean, instead of going like, hey, we'll move you to a whole other place, that'll be great. You'll just say, we'll throw a few extra $1 million at you, and the people that are designing these projects or whatever, putting these panels in, are going to benefit in the billions, if not probably trillions of dollars, and then they're just left going, okay, now I just got to live here and deal with it because I can't move. I mean, they don't even make enough money with a family to go anywhere else in San Diego. They're lucky they can live there. So, I mean, maybe you even need to look at like helping them. Or are you going to give them some vouchers to, for housing? Are you going to help them move to a place that is peaceful again, and now you're just destroying the land? I mean, you guys all have probably really nice houses, so you don't have to worry about those things. You've probably never been homeless, so you wouldn't know what it's like. You've probably never been fired because you're the ones putting people in the positions to get fired because you're not doing anything about it. You won't protect the people and put out an ordinance that's like, hey, we're not going to discriminate or make you lose your job. Instead, you're just like, no, you got to lose your job and then come and try and get a voucher or find a new place to live. I mean, it's really sad that you guys don't care enough about the people to do something.
Chair Fletcher, that concludes public comment on items 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Thank you. We have a motion by myself, seconded by Vice Chair Vargas, to approve items 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Let me ask my colleagues. We'll go to Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you very much. I appreciate and usually day 5 of this has got a lot of unincorporated area stuff in here. Today, Wednesday, whatever it is. Okay, so item 3, this is establishing a Warner Springs community sponsor group. Our county planning department does a great job, but we can help them out and be more responsive to the local needs if there's a high level of local participation, hearing their priorities during the planning process. So the community of Warner Springs has requested they be represented by an advisory group. So today's action will accomplish that community's request and establish the Warner Springs Sponsor Group. Item 4, this is a great one. This is authorization to advertise and award construction contract for a cabin at Wahomie Park. I want to thank our Parks Department for bringing this item forward. This action is going to advertise and award construction of an ADA accessible cabin at the Wahomie County Park. These cabins offer a great way for our residents to enjoy the outdoors, and I'm pleased to approve the construction of another cabin that's going to provide disabled access at this park. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Desmond. Thank you for bringing forward that item. Supervisor Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to add that in item 1, that the Ramona Community Planning Group sent a letter of support, and I was happy to see that. And we do a lot of outreach in our office to the community planning groups because they play an important role. In the unincorporated area, we're the only government that they have, and these planning groups, their input lets me know exactly what the community wants, what they support. And so I'm grateful to get their letter of support and support this today.
All right. We have a motion by myself, seconded by Vice Chair Vargas. Ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Supervisor Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond.
Aye.
Vice Chair Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
Chair Fletcher.
Fletcher, aye.
That motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
We're now going to return to our final non-agendized public speakers, and that will wrap up our business. After that, ask clerk to call the speakers.
Thank you, Chair Fletcher. Any members of the public that requested to speak by phone on non-agenda, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll be identifying speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number. You'll hear a notification that your call has been unmuted. You will then need to press *6 to unmute your line. We'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record, and also please mute your TV or live video stream before you begin speaking. Ryan, if you could please identify the first caller.
Thank you. Our first caller is 7613. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Becky Rapp. I'm a parent and youth group mentor deeply concerned with the normalization and commercialization of marijuana and the role the county is playing in enlarging its footprint in our county. I drove north on Highway 67 last Friday afternoon heading to my son's high school football game. I was shocked when I drove past a relief billboard as I was pulling into Ramona. The giant green billboard was advertising for the local marijuana dispensary, like a welcome sign into the community. Sadly, busloads of children were arriving in Ramona for Friday night games and subjected to the disturbing billboard. Recently, a law passed by the state Supreme Court banning all marijuana advertising on highways and interstates due to the negative and influential messaging received by children and teens. Relief clearly has shown they have no respect for the law and the community in which it serves, as they are willing to continue advertising so blatantly despite the Supreme Court ruling. Relief is one of the 5 existing dispensaries looking to extend their expiring CUP. How can the county consider extending their CUP when they can't work within the current laws of the state? This is a prime example of lack of enforcement. If Relief is allowed to extend their CUP while blatantly breaking state law, then what faith do we as residents, parents, and youth advocates have in our county code enforcement and in their ability to enforce the law? From what many callers stated this morning regarding the dangers of marijuana, especially with our teens, it seems we should deem a public health crisis based on misinformation if the board really is determined to move forward with this ordinance. Marijuana is not what the unincorporated regions of our county want, nor do we want blatant advertising. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 6598. 6598. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Ann Riddle, living in District 3, working in District 5. I wanted to share with you this morning a press release we received over the weekend from National PTA. Because of my work, my health advocacy work with PTAs and parent groups, I thought it was important because they are expressing their concern about the rampant, this is their word, vaping going on with our high school students, stating that 1 in 5 high school students are vaping. And they're concerned that as our young people return to school, some for the first time in 18 months, that the problem could become more serious. So National PTA, working with local PTAs, are working to bring mini grants to local PTAs so that they can educate their parents. They say that they are concerned with the education, health, safety, and well-being of children and want to help them reach their fullest potential. I bring this to your attention because the issue is vaping. Vaping of tobacco, vaping of marijuana. It's the behavior that is of concern because it creates an unhealthy situation for young people and adults as well. And we know, as they point out, that what's attracting our young people to vaping and vaping products are fruity flavors. And we appreciate that the Board of Supervisors banned flavored tobacco products. And I think our next step is definitely banning flavored marijuana products. And we concur with what National PTA said, that policies need to protect health, including, as I just said, the elimination of flavored vaping products. I'd like to conclude with their statement because I would like our county to consider that they, in the same spirit as National PTA, would feel this way. They say that National PTA works hard every day to solve the problems facing our children, families, and schools.
Thank you. Your time is up. Next speaker, please.
Thank you. Our next caller is 6676. 6676. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Good morning. I am Katie Poponiak, and I really enjoyed the bishop's invocation yesterday. I think it's a very challenging time to provide common good to all of the county residents, and I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. So I have provided mental health services to many of our rural communities driving on dangerous, accident-prone two-lane roads. I'm concerned about the cost and response time if marijuana businesses are to open in our rural communities. How many sheriffs or other services will have to be added to an already overworked patrol? I know that Vista just had voted to add 1 deputy for $275,000. I don't know what it would cost for the whole county. I recently attended a community meeting in Encinitas where a woman had made a public plea to the city council members to improve public safety. She encountered an aggressive, lewd person, a transient man who was parked in front of her residence. She was stalked by this person. He blocked her from leaving her parking space. She called 911, and the sheriffs did not respond for over an hour. This is in Encinitas, and how long will someone in our rural communities have to wait if they have a problem? I very naively always assumed that if I needed help, all I had to do was call 911 and someone would show up pronto. It is not the sheriff's fault, but we will need more of them. Promoting marijuana businesses in unincorporated parts of this county will increase the number of impaired drivers on dangerous roads, decreasing safety for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 1861. 1861. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, hi. My name is Kevin Stevenson. I just want to thank the board the Democrats on the board for voting to approve Chair Fletcher's motion last night. And I want to remind them that despite the coverage they're getting on KUSI and the meltdown from the unhinged mob last night, the majority of San Diegans support this motion. We support fighting misinformation. I would also like to remind the pink-haired former Veronica Mars actress who rambles a lot that it was her and her friends who were throwing a temper tantrum last night, not the Board of Supervisors, not Chair Fletcher. Also, let's set the record straight on what freedom is. Freedom is not allowing anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers to cough all over everyone and get them sick. Freedom is feeling safe to participate in society without fear of a preventable plague. We need to put our feet down. We need to tell the let them breathe types who are, by the way, paid money to show up at these meetings and spew their misinformation that they will not continue to hold the rest of the population hostage as they continue to spread COVID everywhere. We already have vaccine mandates for smallpox, chickenpox, hepatitis, tuberculosis, etc. We should have a COVID vaccine mandate too. Without one, this cycle is only going to continue until we get a new variant that our current vaccines don't protect against. And that's going to lead to another lockdown, which none of us want. And honestly, a lot of the people who are complaining about vaccines already, they're not going to cooperate with another lockdown. So they're just going to keep this cycle going. And unfortunately, choice is just not compatible in the case of a deadly pandemic. We need a collectivist attitude in fighting this. We need to get as many people vaccinated as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final caller is 8688. 8688. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself. 8688. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Chair Fletcher, we're not seeing any movement from that line. That appears to conclude the request for non-agenda public communications. Oh, looks like just 8688, please proceed.
Hello, this is Catherine Rhodes, and I wanted to talk about Project Room Key, the hotel rooms that are 100% FEMA reimbursable. So anyway, about 2 weeks ago, President Biden extended the deadline from September 30th to December 31st of this year, and might extend it further. So I was going to request that, a lot of people are getting COVID in the congregate shelter tents, and they need hotel rooms. The city of San Diego, even though they, ask you for help to do this, Mayor Todd Gloria decided just not to do any Project Room Key hotel rooms, is leaving it all up to the county. And so I was going to ask you if you could literally triple the amount of Project Room Key hotel rooms, or at least get them up to the 100% occupancy. Right now, you're back down to 71%. And one slightly good thing is that in 2 months, there was an additional 18 hotel rooms. Usually what happens is when somebody leaves, all of a sudden, they're basically out of luck, nothing to do. But this time you actually added people, which is good. You could literally add as many people as there are out there. 2,000 people you could literally put into hotel rooms. And one of the things with FEMA is after what happens after the timeline is done, you get to apply for that many amount of FEMA trailers or FEMA tiny homes or FEMA, fabricated homes. This is literally an opportunity for you to solve homelessness in San Diego County. One of the other things I wanted to talk about was the San Diego State report, where you told them to look into Project Room Key and also the homeless voucher program for hotels that you are doing, but instead they only focused on the COVID-19 non-congregate public hotel rooms for like doctors or people who needed to, who were not homeless. So please have them read you the report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Chair Fletcher, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this morning.
Thank you. And that concludes the business before the board today. We have no adjournments in memory. We will now adjourn into closed session.
The board will now recess into closed session to consider those matters listed under item 20 on yesterday's agenda. If there are any reportable actions, they will be reported out after the conclusion of closed session today. The next regular meeting of the board will take place on Tuesday, September 14th, 2021 at 9 a.m.